Hi, my name is Andrew Nui. I am the Director of Startups at the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council. Some brief history about my work in innovation and leadership. I worked at MIT over a number of years and we ran bootcamp programs all around the world, most notably in South Korea, Australia, in the US, as well as Brazil. Today, I want to share with you a key aspect in entrepreneurship, which is why experimenting should be a key focus in business. The concepts explained in this quick presentation are based on the systematic and rigorous framework discipline entrepreneurship 24 steps to a successful startup that is taught at MIT, and this process and framework has helped many companies started by MIT alumni achieve product market fit and scale. I want to focus quickly on two key principles in this presentation, and they are iteration and specificity. Edison says that I have not failed, I have just found 10,000 ways that the light bulb would not work. And so this is the spiraling innovation concept here that says, really at the heart of it, success doesn't happen overnight. It is a 20-year success in the making. The other part on specificity and why it's paramount is because details matter a lot. And if you don't agree that details matter a lot, check out what happened to the Titanic. The assumption was that the Titanic, at least at that point in time, was the world's strongest seagoing vessel. And when it hit the iceberg, it ruptured a hole in its hull. And because of the assumptions, there was significant safety protocols that were missed. And as a result, as we all know, that the Titanic now sits at the bottom of the ocean. I want to draw your attention to the left side of the page on the search for the holy grail of specificity. And at the heart of it, it is really a funnel and filter. It's about distilling the information that you receive over time into its purest forms that are extremely important and clear, that validate that, hey, you actually have a viable business. I also want to introduce you to the innovation loop model, which combines the two pieces, the spiraling innovation and the search for specificity, into the spiraling search for specificity. More into this as we go deeper into our presentation. But first, I want to start with the small and medium enterprise. When you go to a bank, you will be asked to prepare all aspects of your business plan before even starting the business. And the parallel here is that it's like the Earth that orbits around the sun. The sun is such a big mass, but also unfortunately, because it's so far away, when the Earth orbits around the sun over 365 days or 12 months, there's very little gravitational pull, and of course, as a result of that, no physical or tangible observable effects on here on Earth apart from night and day. And the parallel here in terms of the small and medium enterprise process is that there are long time cycles that require significant effort in your preparation work related to the business plan. It focuses on the entire process of business plan creation and resultingly high barriers to engagement and ownership of the process. And of course, because of the significant amount of time that you are required to dedicate to this, there's also a significant financial drain on resources that takes you away from the work that you need to do. Contrast this with the innovation-driven enterprise model. It is all about testing assumptions quickly with limited information available. The process is like the moon that orbits around the Earth. It orbits around the Earth every 29 days, or an average of a month. I want to draw a contrast here to the sun and the Earth orbiting around the sun. So literally, you would be able to iterate 12 times more than if you were to have the Earth orbit around the sun. And so resultingly, even though the moon is actually smaller in size compared to the Earth, there is a strong gravitational pull due to its proximity to the Earth, and resultingly, of course, the observable physical effects, the ebb and flow of the tides, the length of days and nights, and also the seasons. And when we parallel this in innovation-driven enterprise process, we're specifically looking at short time cycles for testing and validation of your experiments. It focuses on prioritizing only one part of the process, not the entire process, which of course results in lower barriers for engaging and owning the problems you want to solve. And of course, using what you currently have, which means that you have low to zero financial drain on your resources. So in the case of a side hustle, you would be able to actually experiment and test your assumptions without actually quitting your day job until such time that the validation of the side hustle takes off and you can actually have enough customers to actually quit your day job. And so I want to talk more about the innovation-driven enterprise process here, because it actually leverages the natural laws of time and space. And what do I mean by that? I want to talk specifically about the gravitational slingshot effect. And so we have here two pictures of satellites that are accelerating after launch from Earth in Voyager 2. And in the main picture here, we see that there's an acceleration when the satellite actually rotates and orbits around the planetary orbits after leaving Earth, and there's a significant acceleration that happens. And so that's why you see in the case of Voyager 2, the green planet and the blue, and then subsequently the yellow and the red. Here you'll see the angles change as well as the accelerations increase. And why does this matter? Because in terms of relating it back to startups, the lean startup feedback loop is a cycle. It's about building, it's about measuring, it's about learning. And so in the 2D view here, you'll see that there are two variables in the axis, effort and iteration. One key issue that is not mentioned in that 2D view is the issue of time as a constant that we can see here in C. Why is this important here is because that time is a singular resource that once lost cannot be regained. And so I want to explain a little bit more on this slide, because when we start off with our new venture, we're expending a tremendous amount of effort to overcome inertia, to overcome the status quo. And this is why the frequency that when we start takes a long time, the effort is significant. But as we, like the satellite, progress into the curve of the orbit, we are learning, we are experimenting, we are testing our assumptions, and we're getting feedback, we're getting data that either validates or invalidates our insights. And this is why there is a gravitational slingshot effect that powers the business into the second curve, and as a result of that begins to accelerate over time and over the next curve and loop again and again and again until you hit bullseye in terms of product market fit. And this is really the significant difference between small and medium enterprise growth versus the innovation driven enterprise. And it's the idea that even though you start off below the curve or below the y axis in the innovation driven scale here, because it's significant effort, that you multiply and exponentially grow your success through these experiments over time. Contrasting this to the 1:1 curve or linear growth for small and medium enterprise. And I want to talk a little bit about the 6 themes of disciplined entrepreneurship. Who is your customer? What can you do for them? And how do they acquire your product? These first 3 are significant because if you don't understand those, it is going to be extremely difficult to work backwards. The next 3 are, how do you make money of your product? If you don't understand your customers, how do you know that the solutions that you're trying to offer will help them part ways with their cold, hard-earned cash? And if you don't understand why they value what you're hoping to achieve, how do you even begin to design and build your product or service? And of course, needless to say, how do you even scale your business if you don't even understand the fundamentals in why this should be a viable business? And as we all know, business is no longer as usual before 2020. So as a result of that, significantly, businesses have had to either close shop or find new ways forward. Just like Survivor, whose motto is to outwit, outplay, and outlast, business continuity planning is so important, even as a new business. Your key priority as a business is not only to survive beyond the global pandemic, but also to thrive. So the question here is, if you are spinning your wheels on just the basic operations on day to day, you are not dedicating time to strategically think about how you can move your business forward. And as we've shared earlier, the global business environment has changed and the way we conduct business has shifted. Case in point here, a lot of place-based Main Street local retail businesses have been forced to close down. Why? Because there is little to no more foot traffic. Essentially, if you remember the book Who Moved My Cheese, the cheese has magically disappeared into the digital world. And are the challenges you've solved previously still worth solving? Case in point with the entertainment industry. What about the movie theaters, arcades, discos, and nightclubs? How are they working out right now? Same thing with the travel industry. Do you still have the same customers or do you have to find new ones? And of course, we've all experienced this with the shortage in toilet paper, paper towels, paper products. Suddenly, market demand has spiked and businesses have been forced to innovate. Supply chains have become broken because of the spike in demand. And so the question here is, do you need to diversify and pivot? And next, we see Zoom rising to prominence in 2020, and how you experimenting with your existing systems and processes to engage with your customers in a more effective way, in the ways that they want to engage, not how you have defined, but how they want to now engage safely. And more importantly, too, as a covering your bases, are you only covering those bases from before? Or are you looking at new horizons in the next 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? What else can you do today to review and improve your strength, your business's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? And so again, I want to come back to an overview slide of the discipline entrepreneurship process and also the innovation loop model. So what did we learn? Recap and overview. The spiraling search for specificity. It's about iteration. It is about being specific and to make sure that time is a key factor in your testing process. There are multiple factors. In addition to time as a constant, there are other variables. Can you guess what they are? I'd love to hear from you. The next part of this presentation looked at refocusing your business by experimenting and really positioning your business for growth. The global business environment and rules of conduct have changed. Are you solving problems still worth solving? Do you know who your customers are and what they care about? Is there still market demand, or has that completely evaporated overnight? And what are the new systems and processes by which customers want to engage with you, if at all? And how are you covering your bases in your business? What else have you tried? What's missing from your SWOT analysis? And is there, if at all, anything that you would do differently after listening to this presentation, and why? I want to get to the bonus material very quickly. Here we see in the background a new digital place-based meeting platform called Gather.town. It is game-based meetings that you can actually walk around the digital space and get to meet people and talk to people. And where I'm getting at with this is really it's about changing behavior and motivating people to do things in the ways they currently do them, or to find new ways to inject new behaviors into the existing processes and behaviors and thinking. So one example here is the status quo bias. It's a preference for keeping things the way they are. It's always easier to keep things the way they are when instead of asking customers to change behavior. Similar to the Newton's first law of motion, an object at rest stays at rest, an object in motion stays in motion. All this to say, nothing will change unless you design for change to happen. It's really based on this framework called the 3B framework by Irrational Labs. It's a research and design think tank for positive behavior change. And it's 3Bs because the 3 keywords start with B: behaviors, barriers, and benefits. First, to identify key behaviors, a specific or measurable action you want the user to take. And then to deeply understand what is the friction involved and how you can lower barriers from users performing these key behaviors. And of course, is to amplify benefits, either to increase motivation in getting people to apply these behaviors in existing routines, or to increase benefits for the desired behavior to occur. And so I want to leave you with one last slide here, which is luck occurs when preparation meets opportunity. It's really the intersection of preparing ahead and forging ahead with experiments and testing assumptions. And then when opportunity comes around, that's when you're ready for that to happen. So I really like it because at the heart of it is you're working hard and you actually make your own luck. So, some books for recommended reading: Discipline Entrepreneurship by Professor of the Practice Bill Allet at MIT. And another book, Talking to Humans by Gift Constable. This speaks clearly to primary market research, which is, having unbiased, curious, and informative conversations with potential customers instead of selling and promoting or advocating for the solutions that you are trying to bring to market. All right, that's all we have for this presentation. I look forward to hearing from you. You can email me at starthere@greaterpeoriaedc.org. Bye for now.